Welcome, 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 Jennifer. It's such a thrill to have you on this ride along from far away. Can I even say the outback? Far away in Australia. Does that count as outback? I don't know.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Almost. Almost.
You're very patient with these ever excitable Americans.
No, it's great to be here. Fantastic.
It's so you have brought this wonderful insight to our community, our mission genealogy community. I know for Project Kin, you've always brought this perspective of, I don't know, as an American, if I may say, as a parallel history. You, like many of us here in the United States, have our historical roots in Britain or Europe or elsewhere.
Yeah,
And like us in Australia, you've had a similar kind of history, and you've brought that in to the Substack environment. I've benefited from that from the fabulous program we had in January
yeah,
about the push and pull of platforms. I was so
yeah,
excited to have you
yeah.
with that. And now here we are heading into Roots Tech. What are you looking forward to
Oh,
exploring?
it's so exciting, isn't it? I've just been like a cat on a hot tin roof all week, counting down the time. I'm looking forward to many things. Um, I love the keynotes, and I find that even though oftentimes I've never heard of who the guest is, but they're always so interesting. And Steve Rockwood at the start with his opening is always great. Um, I'm actually looking forward this time to doing something different, sessions on US research, because up until yesterday, I had no ancestors in America that went to America. Um, and I was given by my lovely partner for my birthday a full subscription to Ancestry with access to all the American records. But I don't have any American ancestors. Until relatives at RootsTech yesterday told me that siblings of my three times great grandparents, who I hadn't traced, went went off to America and Canada and settled. So now I have a whole new, line and lots of fun that I'm looking forward to dive in after Roots Tech. So, but I know nothing about doing research in America.
Wow.
So I'm going to do quite a few sessions on that. Usually I skip over those sessions.
Uh,
So that's exciting. Um, I'm looking forward to doing all the DNA, but I will do them after Roots Tech because I need to concentrate with DNA. I'm not
mhm.
I do them every conference I go to, and then I go home and I forget what I learned, and so I just need to sort of take my time with them. Uh, there's a forum this year, or a few forums, and there's one on ethics. Uh, I think that would be very interesting. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think they're calling it a town hall forum or something like that. So there's lots of good stuff, and of course the expo hall. Looking forward to that. I don't usually do the sessions where they're trying to sell me something. I usually handle that in the expo and use the time to do learning things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I think there's something for everyone, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fascinating about your perspective with a connection to American lines. We were just chatting about how, and welcome all of you. Goodness, I see 13 people already live
gosh,
joining us. Thank you so much for joining in on this conversation. As we started out with, um, was the notion as an American looking at so many of you now from Australia chiming in on historical connections to what is so often our shared roots. And it feels as though they are a parallel universe. And yet, every
yeah,
now and then, we discover that we do, in fact, share. some of these relations. I just saw my good friend and partner Robin Stewart join in, my partner here in Mission Genealogy, and I hope I'm not overstepping here, Robin, to share this little nugget you shared with me a few minutes ago. But we discovered we'd already heard the sort of 10th or 11th cousins connection from relatives at RootsTech, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden today it's eighth cousins, and neither
Oh,
one of us made any big changes. So,
yeah.
is that real? I don't know. So we may find out. Who knows? But that is, in fact, where the fun lies. And how exciting for you to
Yeah.
have discovered someone there that's led you through a solid path through your own
Oh, I
family
know.
trails.
And
Oh,
there's so many of them that went over. And
oh,
one of the lines, they all settled at Salt Lake City, and they're still
wow.
living there, from what I can
Yeah.
gather, up until the last generation anyway. So yeah, so that's going to be exciting to dive into that after it's tech. Um,
I found a fourth cousin who has also moved into the Utah area, and a lot of my family roots are among Quakers, and so they
right.
were among the people moving west through that same
Yes.
19th century
Right.
period.
Yeah. So is Pennsylvania the Amish area? Is
Yes,
that the
that's right.
Amish state?
Yes.
Yes. So the other line went there. So it's
Wow.
just going to be interesting to, yeah, check it out. Yeah,
It's so much fun to be building these kinds of communities. And one of the things that I like about what's kind of happening now in this community building within both mission genealogy, family history, and genealogy in general in Substack as a platform is that we're all doing our work, down our
yeah,
own rabbit holes,
yeah, yeah.
while finding a way to talk to and gain support from fellow travelers. Um,
And it's really great, isn't it? And it's
yeah,
great to have so many in the community, so many people in your community that are interested in your stories and what you're
exactly.
doing, and don't do that eye roll. As you know, you get we all get it from family, don't we?
The genealogy eye roll. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Why? That reminds me of another story about my
yeah.
ancestors. Did you
That's
know?
right. Don't get me started. Don't get mum
Don't start
started on
her.
that. That's right.
Exact
Yeah,
exactly. Paul has just chimed in to say when looking for relatives, I have 44, no wait, 24th cousins in Utah. Well,
oh,
I think the thing that's so amazing is, of course, to realize the overlay between
yeah,
people who are in family have chosen family search to be the place that they put their family tree, and
yeah,
of course Utah or the United States or American early ancestors, colonial ancestors in America, so they tend to dominate
yeah,
for the kinds of people that would have already had their records in family search. My own family does go back to colonial American periods.
yeah,
So I'm doing really well, and there's a lot of people who have put a lot more effort in for generations now who's already have put their stuff into family search. So I've been
yeah.
benefiting greatly from
You
that.
get the benefit.
Though
Yeah,
some of these are kind of interesting when you go back 10 generations or something. Wait a minute,
yeah,
you say what?
yeah, absolutely. And where did that information come from?
Yeah,
Yeah,
infer. Telling me
yeah,
about infer.
inferred. Yeah, yeah. I found it really strange that so many people and settled at Salt Lake City. And but then I'm thinking about it, I thought, well, I suppose one did. And then, you know, you go where your family are and just one at a time they all just ended up there to be
Yeah.
with their families, and
Y-
haven't
y-
moved away. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
so often that's really the question, is it? Welcome, welcome, Erin. Nice to see you, Linda. The kind of a successful family formula, isn't it? When the grandchildren stay to where the
Oh,
grandparents were, and then family traditions of tending to grave sites and things like that do
yeah,
tend to encourage people to stay in a community. And a lot of religious traditions are, about
absolutely.
keeping people
Yeah,
in a community because it's
yeah.
healthy for the community itself.
It is. But I think it's going to
Yeah.
be fun for descendants in the future to try and find us all over the world, the way we scatter. I know
But,
my own children. Yeah,
packets or packets.
yeah,
We
that's right.
actually, that's sort of an interesting whole thought is as we disperse, we are leaving behind a trail of data that makes this much
Yeah.
easier to find.
Oh, we
Um,
are now. Yeah, yeah,
Certainly
yeah,
going back
yeah,
those 10 generations to try to infer things from, wills and grave sites.
yeah,
There's, a lot fewer documents to be able to track.
yeah, that's right. And I know with myself, even, I had a life change 15 years ago and just picked a random city to move to.
Wow.
And I thought if anyone's trying to, at the time, I thought if any of my descendants one day are trying to trace me, they would never ever think of looking in this city. Why
Yeah.
on earth did she go there?
Yeah.
But you do leave a trail,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 especially these days. I mean, had it been 200 years ago, it would be very difficult to pick it up.
Yeah. Which is where you have cases of the guy with another family, an entirely
Yeah,
separate family
that's
that are
right.
just across the border.
Yeah, yeah.
It does make for interesting research.
Oh, and especially with names like, oh, look, my name, for how would they have a hope of finding me? And my whole family's like that. So,
It's an
but I've got
occupational hazard of the Jones family.
this American line has got a lot of unusual names in it, and it might be a pleasure to research instead of having to scrounge around trying to sort out Joneses and Taylors and Browns and So yeah, it'll be interesting. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's for after Roots Tech. We've got Roots Tech Fun
So
to look
you're
forward to.
That's actually a great topic. So you're going into this. Here we are on the first 3 days leading into RootsTech, which starts with a big drum roll tomorrow.
Yeah,
And what's your strategy going into all of this? You've already given hints about things like holding out your DNA research work.
yeah,
What other
yeah.
kinds of things do you take as your
Number one,
strategy?
I have my blogger beads.
Aha!
They'll be
Yay,
alongside me,
merch!
my blogger beads, so I can
Uh-huh.
pretend I'm actually there. Um,
Uh-huh.
I'm a bit weird with it because they all happen. All the everything happens at Ritz Tech while we're asleep.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but I have this FOMO thing that I really have to keep up with everything as it's happening, and so I'll be climbing out of bed about midnight and just going through until the end of the day over there. Yeah, yeah.
We're building a little club here to campaign to make sure Jennifer gets more sleep.
I
You
don't know
all
whether
out
that'll
there
work,
have
but
to
it'd be great.
know that Jennifer Jones is probably our most reliable, comes to the most Project Kin and Mission Genealogy events ever. And they're all like in the middle of the night, despite our effort to make sure
Yeah,
we've got things for you in the
yeah.
Pacific time range.
And because she's always up, and the time frames at my suitable time for me,
Uh-huh.
I'm outside most of the time, doing
Yeah.
doing things and off doing stuff that I do. So 4 o'clock in the morning, that's perfect. So
Well,
yeah,
it's impressive. It's impressive. You're
oh,
inspiring to all of us, not only in your health posts, but also, of course, in all of the work that you do in your family history storytelling and pulling up these wonderful stories. I think you've been focusing lately. Tell us a little bit about your Substack, Tracking Down the Family.
yep. So Tracking Down the Family started 12 years ago on WordPress, and I took it over to Substack a year ago. And I tell stories from my research. I've been researching about 40 years. But lately I've been doing a series of transcriptions of letters that my great grandfather wrote, great great, wrote to his family in England. And they're really wonderful, these letters. They were just such a great find when I came across them. A researcher, of course, the letters were in England, not in Australia, and I knew nothing about them, but a researcher over there came to Australia to do some research and deposited them in the archive here while he was here. So one night I was just mindlessly, as you do, just because there's very little information on my family. They didn't do great heroic things, or they were just hard workers, Um, plugging names into, archives and libraries and trying to find something different. And up popped an archive of letters, which I couldn't believe it. So off I had to go to Melbourne the next day to get these letters, and they're just a wonderful insight of what life was like for a new arrival. He came out here for the gold rush, and that didn't work out for him, and really struggled. And
Uh-huh.
just, prices of things and what he did for jobs and how, just little things, he felt really bad because he couldn't go to church because he didn't have anything to wear. He only had one change of clothes, but he had been able to buy clothes for his wife and children to wear. So they toddled off to church, and I thought that would be heartbreaking, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And about the weather, which he thought our winters were worse than England because he was in a very cold area.
Yeah.
And the thread that goes through every one of them is how homesick he is
Yeah.
and how sad he is that he won't see his family again.
Where did you, again, you found these letters through research, just as you said, poking around, but were they at Trove and in a
No, they were
library?
no, they had been deposited into the Historical Society of Victoria. Yeah, yeah, and it's a great resource. It's a very old society, and they've got a lot of different type of stuff, like that. Um, and I was a fairly new researcher then. I didn't even know about them. Didn't even
Hmm.
know that such a place existed. So yeah, it was really good to find them. Yeah, yeah.
And these letters had been sent to family in Australia, and
No,
someone,
no, he'd
I'm sorry,
sent
in
them.
family in England, and
Yes,
then and then they were sent back to be given to the Historical Society in Victoria, Australia. Is that right?
yes, yes.
That's such a
So they were
treasure.
sent to his brothers and his father, and someone's
Uh-huh.
hung on to them over there,
Oh,
and they've been passed down to a researcher that I've since collaborated with. So he came out here to do the Australian side of the research for a few weeks and deposited them in the archive, which was, I'm so grateful to him for doing that.
you
Yeah,
know, it's a reminder that as researchers, we talk about going down rabbit holes and looking for needles in haystacks and so on. And yet it sounds as though sometimes that tremendous joy is in finding where the needle is a golden needle is another
yeah,
person.
and the
It's
unexpected.
and the
And
unexpected.
and it's great fun, isn't it? Just spending a bit of time mindlessly, as you say, going off on tangents and down rabbit holes, and when it actually produces something, which
Yeah.
it often can.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
It's funny.
So
I have a
oh,
word for that. I think of I used to always be very focused on being, as a Japanese expression for this, to be very majime, to be very,
yes,
like a good student,
yep,
very, very focused on this one thing.
yep,
And then perhaps it's my current state of entrepreneurship, but then I realized, you know what? There is great value in putzing, in just letting it open, letting opportunity happen, letting innovation occur, freeing the mind to just relax and
yeah,
enjoy
yeah,
enjoyment. What is enjoyment? You can be working and
yeah,
enjoying it. What
yeah,
is that? That's
and
about the
just go,
creative.
yeah,
Yeah,
just going with the flow.
exactly.
Because I mean, we all have those to-do lists, and you sit down at the computer, and you've got to get a blog post out, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and it is a joy to spend a little bit of time just mindlessly doing whatever it is you do, and you just don't know what you might come across. Yeah.
Yeah. to me, I call this kind of like the haiku rule, in the sense
Mm,
that haiku is incredibly creative, but in an extremely tight little box, right? It puts
yep,
you into
yep,
this very specific form. That form can take
yep,
any number of things. I look at the form as being like a I look at projects as being like a form. I'm going to do this thing, this category, and maybe the category is about form, and maybe the category is about topic. It
yep,
it varies actually. I try never ever to let the project be focused by what a platform wants to make me do, but that's a whole separate
yeah,
conversation.
yeah.
And I love to see when the if the category is a family line. Let curiosity pull me down the trail, pull me
Yeah,
down the rabbit hole, the fur-lined rabbit hole,
yeah, yeah.
and
Great fun.
just enjoy it. Well,
Yeah.
wow. Jennifer, this has been absolutely fabulous. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this today and for being frankly such a enthusiastic and generous contributor to this little community that we have. I can't thank you enough. I think we see in a lot of our assembled audience here a lot of love for all that you've done
Oh,
to
thank
make
you.
this
Thank you,
happen,
everyone.
and
Yeah.
the encouragement and joy heading into this Roots Tech show. We're all making it up and figuring it out.
Oh,
But yes,
absolutely.
drop some hearts. There you go.
Yeah.
To share the love, in particular for Jennifer, all you've done, and
Oh,
where we're taking all of this. I really appreciate it.
and we're having, thank you for those words. It's just absolutely lovely. And we're having great fun as we make it up. I mean, it's just fabulous. I've just enjoyed my time in this community more than I can ever tell you. So the whole experience has been great. And I'm just so much looking forward to Roots Tech and hoping
Yay!
to be there next year.
Open, open, open. The
That's it.
timers are counting down now for
Oh,
access to
no.
everything. I think that's like, I don't know if that's midnight tonight. I've lost time zones,
Yeah.
but it's real
And
soon now.
because it's 8:30 in the morning when I started here. It's Roots Tech day one now, but I have to
Right.
wait until 11 now. I think it's 11 or 12 midday. I think until it
Yes.
starts, and it's very
Yes.
yeah, annoying.
Thank you. Thank you all for the lovely comments. It's been very hard to comment on the comments while we're having a
Yes.
conversation, but I truly appreciate it, and thank you all for your warm support. I do want to make a quick announcement. So starting tomorrow, speaking to the Mountain Time, Pacific Time, tomorrow is Thursday, the first day of the show. We're doing two shows a day for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Out in the Pacific, of course, that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I will combine those to email out as one video each of those days because we can only handle so much. And the whole idea will be to be celebrating what's happening. I have a change in lineup for tomorrow as well. I just added it to the calendar. We have first thing in the morning tomorrow is, if I'm not mistaken, is Robin Stewart, our own Robin Stewart, who will be joining me at 9:30 Pacific time. That's right, isn't it? I'm looking at the calendar. Y'all will correct me if I get that wrong, but I checked the calendar too. Yes, 9:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Mountain time, and the calendar is there so that you can check the local time. And then in the afternoon, the 2:30 slot, Pacific time, 3:30 Mountain time, 5:30 Eastern, and so on. I have a special guest joining my photo powerhouse. Is in addition to Kathy Stone, Maureen Taylor, the photo detective, will be joining us as well. So I'll have two guests, so that's kind of exciting. And we're all figuring this out and making it up. And I want to welcome her into this community here and know that she brings a specialized set of skills as the photo detective. So that should be a lot of fun too.
Oh, that'll
Thank
be
you
great.
all.
Yeah.
It's a delight to have you here, and we will pick this all back up again tomorrow. Oh,
Thank you,
feel free
everyone.
to drop
Thank you.
comments in here into the when I circulate this as a video post, you'll have a chance to add comments there as well. So don't hesitate to drop more thoughts there. Okay.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye now.
See you.